Alright, so what you already know, Sonic X Generations is coming out in just over 3 months from now, which means Sega is ramping up the marketing. And you know what that means? Full-blown marketing assault. Takashi Iizuka giving interviews with little tidbits and breadcrumbs. So we got a new one of those, and we have to talk about it because there's some very important shit that's in there that we're gonna have to discuss. So we're gonna get to all this right now. But subscribe to the channel already. Please make sure to subscribe, alright? Now, before we get to that, there's one thing I want to talk about. Obviously, we had the little event, the little anime convention, I believe it was last week, and they had a little animation teaser for Sonic X Generations, I think it's Dark Beginnings, so I reacted to that here, as you can see, but apparently it was heavily zoomed in, so they released 2 days ago, I've actually watched it, but they released a full version on their channel outside of the event, and it was zoomed out, so if you didn't see the full version, it's worth taking a look at that to not get the zoomed in version. I don't know why they did that. Anyway, on to the X Shadow Generations, right? Good Vibes Gaming, another gaming channel, has got an Iizuka interview here, and it says Sonic Team's head wants a new Sonic RPG. So it's a Sonic X Shadow Generations interview, but that was mentioned. Now the interview is a text-based interview, but they made it into a video. So Tails channel, of course, has freebooted the entire interview on Twitter and just screenshotted all the text so we can read it without watching the video. I'm sorry, but you know, the internet's ruthless, right? So it says here, another Takashi Iizuka interview appears, this time from Good Vibes Gaming Official. Here's a highlight thread of the interview. So they ask all the questions, and of course, we can read and react and respond. So let's look at these questions here. Question is, why is now the time to bring back Shadow and even dedicate a whole year to him? Iizuka says it's really Sonic Movie 3 that is bringing the spotlight to Shadow this year. We already know that. When the multimedia era, the multimedia dictates the trajectory of the franchise. We knew when they were making Movie 2, at the very end you would see the reveal. We knew there was going to be a spotlight put on Shadow at that moment. So that gave us enough time to develop a game and bring something to market in time for Movie 3. So about 2 years. And that's what really started the idea behind Sonic X Shadow Generations. Next question. All of the past titles you could have chosen to remaster for this project, why Sonic Generations specifically? So we previously released Sonic Colors Ultimate as well as Sonic Origins. So basically they already did all the 2D shit, so we run out of 2D to milk. And when we were releasing those remastered games, the fans were really vocal about what they wanted next, and we heard a lot of people saying we want Generations. I mean, look, I want Generations, but I wasn't hearing enough of that. Like, I said I wanted Generations, but I was hearing more Unleashed than Generations. I'm just saying. But I get it, right? They don't want to risk the critics hanging on the whale right now. So, you know, that had already been an idea in our heads. And then with Sonic Movie 3 coming out, knowing we wanted to put Shadow in the game, the idea in my head was like, why don't we take Sonic Generations, remaster that, and then we can add in Shadow content to make a package bigger than what we had before. And we thought the mixing of those two things would be a really good offering for players. Next question. Story-wise, wait, go back to the thread. Story-wise, when does this new campaign take place in relation to the events of the original game? Iizuka says, so when you start the game, you're allowed to choose, do you want to play Sonic Generations or Shadow Generations? In this way, they're kind of like two separate games within the package. But the package is still a Generations game, and so Sonic Generations and Shadow Generations, we need to start shortening these, they're tied to the same story. They're both part of the events encompassing Generations. And so the story starts with the Time Meter coming and kind of consuming all of the time and space and creating the white space. That event happens in the Sonic Gen side of the story, and it also happens at the same time in the Shadow Gen side. So you'll see the story kind of happening in parallel for both of the games. So when does Shadow get back to the main gens to give us the iconic, you got this, Sonic? I don't know when that's coming, but we'll see. Okay, next question. Compared to the main Sonic Generations campaign, around how long should players expect the Shadow Generations campaign to be in terms of Galen? Iizuka behind this for so long, so you already know it's short, okay? You know it's short because he's not saying it. With Frontiers, they were throwing out numbers. They were talking about 30 hours. Hey. They were saying 30 hours and then double that for 100%. And I knew that shit was capped, and I said that shit was capped, and people were mad at me for saying this shit was capped, and it was capped. But they were throwing numbers because they knew the game was bigger than anything they ever done, right? And they're trying to say, we know this campaign not going to be long. Let's be real. That's why they can't say, like, 3 months till the game is out and it's already available for pre-order and you still can't tell us how long the Shadow campaign will be. Anyway, we can't really talk about all of the game at this point. We do want to say, when we talk about the action game elements of Sonic X Shadow, I can't say this whole, how do we shorten Sonic X Shadow Generations? SXSG? That's just Sonic Shadow Gens. I mean, that's probably the shortest I can think of. Because I'm not gonna say Sonato or some bullshit like that. Sonic Shadow Gens. What's kind of unique and different and interesting about the Shadow side is that the white space area has been developed with the 3D open zone format from Frontiers. And so that really allows people to run around, jump around, and play in that new white space format for a really long time, as well as jump into the stages from there. Yeah, so can you talk a little bit about, why does it scroll down? Can you talk a little about Shadow's new Doom powers and how those differentiate from him from Modern Sonic? Iizuka says, so as you already know, we have Modern Sonic, Classic Sonic, and Shadow. All 3 hedgehogs in one game. We say all 3. I mean, you go pretend that Silver is not a thing. Amy, Metal Sonic, I'm just saying. And Shadow is unique because he can do Chaos Control, which is unique to him and something Sonic can't do. Didn't he do Chaos Control like SAT? You know they don't care about the law. But when we look at some of his other gameplay, a lot of it is very similar to the Modern Sonic gameplay of running and jumping and platforming, and we thought it may be a little too similar if the Shadow content wasn't differentiated enough. So we really wanted to make something new and interesting, and that's where the Doom powers kind of came into fruition. We wanted to have Shadow do something else Sonic couldn't do. We wanted to make Shadow be able to perform new actions that neither Classic Sonic nor Modern Sonic could, and be able to design Shadow's levels in a way that he's able to use these new abilities as well as Chaos Control to get through each act. So you do feel like you're playing a Generations game, but you're getting a new Generations experience from the Shadow side. Alright. How are the Act 1s and Act 2s differentiated in Shadow? This is an interesting question. I hope he answers that. Even though there's no Classic Shadow character that exists. Oh god. Classic Shadow deconfirmed, everyone. Deconfirmed. Classic Shadow is not coming. Thank god, but you know. As long as it's not like Classic Sonic and Shadow outfit. We don't want that. We don't want that. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, there's a difference between each level's 2 acts in Sonic Generations, where the first one is 2D versus Act 2 being a 3D running level. And we wanted to apply the same design mentality to the Shadow content to make sure that when you put in each pair of acts together, they really feel unified. Wait, hold on. So they're confirming that it's like a 2D act and a 3D act then. So it really is going to be like, because we saw Kingdom Valley 2D in the trailer, right? So is it like, and the demo we saw was for that, the Space Colony art level, that was fully 3D. So is it really fully compartmentalized, like fully 2D level and fully 3D level? Are they saying that, right? Because in main Generations, it's like fully 2D level, they get all the 2D, and then 3D level still has 2D, taking the piss, right? Because that was the anti-3D era, right? The classic fanboy critics were ruining 3D Sonic for the real 3D fans, so they were shoving the 2D even into the mon levels. But if they're saying that they're gonna do it here, where it's like fully 3D and then fully 2D, that could be an improvement over base gens, just that concept alone. But I'm not gonna get my hopes up, because I won't be surprised if they shove in 2D sections and 3D levels. We'll see. But I think the separation thing is good. Separate but equal. That's kind of bullshit. Separate but equal. No, 3D is better than 2D. It's not equal, okay? There was never equal. That shit's bogus. Will performance mode be available on all platforms in the final release, including Nintendo Switch? No, you will play at 30 FPS and you will like it. Iizuka said, it's hard, because we are, as you said, in the middle of development. The idea really at the very beginning of the project was that Sonic Generations was originally released on PS3, and it was a beautiful looking game, but we could only get 30 frames per second out of it. What we really want to do is challenge ourselves to get the game looking even better on PlayStation 5 and get it to 60 frames per second. Didn't even mention Xbox. Damn, Iizuka. Forget an Xbox like that. So we have accomplished that. So 60 FPS confirmed for PS5, but if it didn't run at 60, that would just be ridiculous and horrible optimization. And everything else at this point is tuning and optimization, so we don't have an answer for any other platforms at this time. They're gonna have to get 60 on Xbox as well. They can't do 30 on Xbox. Definitely not like Series X. Maybe Series S they get lazy, but not X, right? Switch is lucky to get 30. Just be happy you're getting digits that are like higher than my age, because it's dead ass, like, you know. If you're getting a Switch 2 and it's backwards compatible, maybe there'll be some FPS boost for you, but yeah. It ran at 30 on PS3, they're not getting it to 60 on Switch. Like, maybe a certain kind of team could optimize on that level. I just don't see it happening, okay? The question is, are they gonna separate it for different games? Like, will they try and get like 60 on base gens and 30 on, I don't know. I feel like they're gonna do 60 across the board on PS5 Series X, and then 30 across the board on Switch. Like, just keep it consistent, you know? Anyway, next question. Are there any changes or additions being made to the original Sonic generations? So regarding the improved frame rate and graphics for the original Sonic generations, as we just touched on, there was no improved graphics, or frame rate on PC at least. We really wanted to take our already really good looking game and polish it such that we have improved the graphics in a lot of places. Where? But not to the extent where it's going to maybe stand out too much, because you don't want to ruin the image of what the game used to look like in ours and plays. Man, that's some bullshit. You don't want to remaster the game. You don't want to ruin the image of what the game used to look like. It's a remaster. You're supposed to update the visuals. That's the whole point. It's not a remake, but there should be noticeable things that are like, oh my god, this looks like a superior version of the game. That's what a remaster is. Say you don't want to ruin the nostalgia of the game that's already nostalgic. Like, that's a cop-out. We all know that you just couldn't be bothered to do that, but, you know, we keep it moving, okay? We keep it moving. When you play the game, it should feel exactly like the original, we know. Even though it looks better, we also knew that players who have already played Sonic Generations from start to finish are going to need something new as well. So we've added an extra feature for this remaster called Child Rescue. For people who've already played through the game, this will give them another reason to come back and play it again. I feel like a better reason would be like toughening up the rankings, you know, just go in and just like strictify the rankings, you know. I will come back just for that, just to S-rank everything with real challenge, you know. But the Child Rescue thing, I'll try it, of course, I'll try it, but they could have done so much more base gens. You have a Terrio skin as a pre-order bonus for Sonic X Shadow Generations. That's such a deep cut and a cool one at that. So I'm wondering how that came about. Iizuka says, yes, it's a deep cut, and it's all kind of started with Sonic Super Mid. One of the offerings we had for Sonic Super Mid was the rabbit character that was the initial concept for Sonic way before he was a hedgehog. And it was fun for us to say, like, hey, let's put in a character that is Sonic, but also isn't Sonic. That initial concept being an actual playable character was something the fans really enjoyed and really liked, and we saw that reaction and thought, well, we're doing Shadow now, so they'll probably also enjoy his initial concept as a real character skin too. Yeah, it's fine. How many questions we got left? Like 5. So we got quite a few. Ooh, we got quite a few. Okay, let's keep going. What do you have working on? Who do you have working on the music for a new character? That's an interesting one. So I don't want to be telling you stuff you already know, but I will. So the whole concept of the Generation soundtrack is, let's take that great music from the past games and the past levels, let's rearrange it and represent it in a kind of different format. That was all done by Jun Sonoe for Sonic Generations, and because the new Shadow Generations content is part of the whole Generations package, we wanted to apply the same concept to the Shadow Generations gameplay as well. So we do have Jun Sonoe working to collect great music from Shadow's history, and then working with other artists to rearrange it and represent it so you get to hear new versions of the game. Does that mean that we're not going to get like an onslaught of EDM? Like, are we going to get some like good like rock shit? Because we were hearing some kind of semi-EDM shit with the Shadow Gens demo, but if we can get some real shit, like some Jun Sonoe type shit, not his classic shit, but like his modern shit, that's going to be good. Because I was worried about the music for a second. I was worried I was going to have to mod some different music in there or something. But now it seems like I'll just have to mod the voice acting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Jun Sonoe doing the soundtrack for this. I think this is a good idea. Are you Team Sonic or oh, here come the fanboy questions. So he's gonna say Shadow, but everyone else is Team Sonic. Okay, yeah, fanboy questions. Who's your favorite character amongst the rest of the cast? Fanboy questions. Yeah, Knuckles or the Chaotix? Or okay, fanboy questions. Okay, here we go. Bad questions. Are there any plans on the table for future remasters going forward, like Sonic Adventure 2, or The GOAT? Iizuka says, just like how Sonic Generations remaster has been desired by so many fans, and people really requested and wanted it, you know, that's something we listened to and wanted to move forward with. So for our next title, after everyone plays Sonic X Shadow Generations, we'd love to hear about what the fans have to say about what they would want next, and we'll be listening to those comments. Now Midori, you know, I know we've had all Midori issues, but Midori said the Heroes remake was being considered, and so did Zippo. But we know that the games revolve around the multimedia now. We're in the multimedia era. Now let's think logically, right? What came after SA2, right? It was Heroes, right? The GOAT. So now we're getting the SA2 movie. What's going to come after that? If Shadow is the main focus of this movie, and Knuckles is the main focus of the previous movie, you know, go 3 and Knuckles, then, you know, we got Heroes next, right? Metal Sonic. So if movie 4 is the Metal Sonic movie, he's the villain, then it will make logical sense to go with Heroes, right? Because when you think of the games where Metal Sonic is really the main focus, it's really only 2 games. And one of them is mid as fuck. It's CD and then Heroes, right? Heroes is not the mid one. Don't even comment that shit. CD is already in Sonic Origins, so that's not really a concern, right? So if you really want to do Metal Sonic justice, instead of doing some weird shit like Sonic X Metal Unleashed or some bullshit like that, you're just gonna take Heroes, which already has Metal Sonic, and then remake that. And maybe add a bonus like where Metal Sonic is a playable character. Like when you beat the game, you can play as Team Metal. I actually said this in my Sonic Heroes 2 wishlist video. You can look at, I made this video years ago. It's called Sonic Heroes 2 My Thoughts. I said make Metal Sonic a playable character. And you can make it such that he's not even a team, it's just one person. He just does all the functions of the 3 teams. You just switch the functionality. That would be a cool like mode to just play as Metal Sonic on his own and do all the characters moveset as one character. So you could just do that with the Heroes remake, and that would be like the game to sell alongside movie 4, the Metal Sonic movie, right? So Heroes makes sense if movie 4 is the Metal Sonic movie, which means 2026, maybe early 2027 we get that Heroes remake. But yeah, SA1 and SA2, they ain't ready for that. They ain't ready to do, because the physics requirements for those games and the automation issues that they're undoubtedly going to add with the rail grinding and shit like that, you guys, I don't know, like, good luck, okay? What is your personal favorite Sonic game you worked on across your entire career? Another really hard question. Think about recent games brought to mind Superstars, because you got to work with Rishima. So in recent history, but if we're going back in time, SA2 is the title that's probably the most fun. He was living in San Francisco. Yeah. SA2 was the most fun. Of course, he's not going to say Heroes because he was by himself working on that shit, you know, doing the level design on his own. But just because it was more fun for him doesn't mean that it was a better game. Obviously, we know Heroes is the GOAT. Sega is some of the best RPG developers in the industry. There was, of course, Sonic Chronicles. Well, yeah, obviously, you know, I don't know if the game was mid. Was Chronicles mid? I know the soundtrack was horrible, but was the game actually mid? I never played it. I should actually cop that. I've still got a DSi XL. So, might we one day see an attempt at Sonic RPG for consoles and PC? Iizuka said, personally, I really like role-playing games. The RPG game format is a lot of fun, and I've even thought to myself, you know, for the past 30 years, we haven't done a Sonic RPG. And I'm questioning myself, why haven't we done a Sonic RPG in all this time? How have we gotten to 30 years with no RPGs? I mean, Chronicles was an RPG, but, you know, I guess he's pretending that doesn't exist because obviously he heard Central City. So I'd like to hopefully work on a Sonic RPG at some point before I retire from Sega, but you know, that's just a dream right now. There are no concrete plans at this point. A Sonic RPG could go hard. Turn-based, you know, all the characters playable, like the major characters, like playable, great soundtrack, great story, you know, maybe even some voice acting. I would play the fuck out of that, right? You know, especially like on the Steam Deck, on the go, like, oof, that would be I don't know what graphics they should go. Should they go like a pixel-based kind of situation, or they go with something a bit more 3D? You know, I think both could work, honestly, but you know, just don't use classic Sonic because I'm sick of that shit. Can fans expect Shadow to stick around and be a consistent part of the stories in mainline games again going forward, or is this more like a special occasion that doesn't necessarily guarantee a long-term return for Shadow? Iizuka says, this year we have a huge spotlight on Shadow. We have Sonic Movie 3 coming out. We have Sonic X Shadow Generation. I just remember Sonic Rumble is coming out this year. I completely forgot about that, man. Like, it just randomly popped into my head. There's a lot of Shadow content that people are going to get to enjoy this whole year. That doesn't mean he's going away after this. He may not have such a big spotlight on him moving forward, but he's a really important character for the Sonic franchise. From here on out and in the following years, we do expect Shadow to maintain some presence, just maybe not as much as this year, because this is a really amazing special occasion for Shadow. That's a good answer, because at the end of the day, Shadow's a special character. You don't want to milk him in the sense that he's just there with no like story reason. He needs to be done justice. He's not someone you can just slap into the game for no reason, like a Tails who's just there to follow whatever Sonic's doing. He has to be there for a reason. It would be like slapping Chip into every game, you know? But yeah, I mean, Shadow's important. We want to see more Shadow, of course. We love Shadow, you know, naturally. But let me know what you guys think about all of this. Shun Tsunoi potentially coming back. Potentially the same Act 1 and Act 2 system as base generations, you know? Potential RPG in the future of Sonic. I mean, at some point we need to get another one. And of course, remasters. It seems like Iizuka's ready to do another one. It seems like I'm fairly confident, based on the way Iizuka's speaking, that by 2027 there'll be another remaster. You know, we just don't know which game they're gonna go with. But let's face it, right? You've done Colors, you're doing Generations. It's not gonna be Lost World. It's not gonna be Forces. Like, it's SA1, 2, Heroes, Unleashed. It's not gonna be 06 or Boom. It's like 4 games. SA1, 2, Heroes, Unleashed. Unleashed is risky because you have to deal with Werehog haters. SA1 and 2 is risky because you don't want to butcher the adventure games. Heroes is not as loved by the masses, so it's a safer choice, but still loved enough that it will sell. It's got 4 teams of characters. You may even have a 15. I don't know. It just seems like Heroes makes the most sense for them right now. I'm not just saying that because I love it, because I don't want them to butcher it too. I'm worried too. But like, by 2027, there's gonna be another remaster. It's clear they're on this path, right? But also, there's also like side remasters too. Like, if they start getting the side teams involved, we could get like the Advanced Trilogy redone, get a little small team to like redo it in a brand new pixel engine so we could get it like widescreen and like 4K. But yeah, Advanced Trilogy in a pack, that would be great. Rush running on one screen. Like, now that we got Steam Decks, like, we need that shit for on the go. So even if you're not gonna do the big boy remasters anytime soon, you could probably do like an Advanced Trilogy remaster in like a year. 1 year, you put that shit together, maybe 2 max. You know, if you start working on it now, we can have it by 2026. I don't know. Like, there's so many options. There's endless possibilities. Obligatory, Unleashed, you know, Sneak. But yeah, the future of Sonic is looking bright. It's looking bright. If Shadow Generations is not a flop, and Movie 3 is not a flop, then 2020s is already better than the 2010s at that point. And if Rumble is not a flop, if Movie 3 is good, Shadow Gens is good, Sonic Gens is not Colors Ultimate-ified, and then Rumble is great, then we've beaten the 2010s already, legitimately. I mean, kind of, we'll see. But let me know what you guys think about all of this. It's looking pretty interesting for our Lone Saber the Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm excited to see what is to come. But yeah, man, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, more content coming soon to the channel. But that's all I have to say right now. So, Remy out.